momento en el que esperemos que estén entrando más. Entonces, unos momentos para que podamos iniciar. Se les recuerda que esta sesión será en inglés por parte de Serena Rovai y también la interacción con ella se dará en este idioma. Entonces, tomen en cuenta para esta sesión.
Hola, soy Vanessa Guillermo, consultora educativa de Class Education. Nos dedicamos al turismo educativo internacional. En esta ocasión les voy a platicar de uno de nuestros destinos más populares, que es Italia, en el cual contamos diferentes programas como son idiomas, campamentos, entre otros. Manejamos diferentes destinos como es Florencia, Milán, Trieste, Tropea, en fin, tenemos un abanico de opciones muy bueno para ti. Por eso te invito a que agendes una asesoría virtual conmigo para poder platicar más a detalle en relación al programa, destino, fecha de viaje y presupuesto. Será un placer apoyarte en este proyecto y concretar tu sueño. Vanessa Guillermo, Class Education.
Pues bueno, qué gusto tenerlos aquí en esta ocasión. Este encuentro creativo es una iniciativa de la Embajada de Italia a través de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana. Y vamos a ver ahora el video del señor embajador, Luigi De Chiara, el excelentísimo embajador de Italia en México. Corre video.
Soy Luigi De Chiara, embajador de Italia en México. Soy muy feliz de presentar Encuentro Creativo con la presentación de la oferta formativa de estas instituciones académicas en el campo de las industrias creativas italianas. Queremos ofrecer a todos los mexicanos no solo la posibilidad de mejorarse desde un punto de vista técnico, sino también de saber dónde van las tendencias, cómo se ha construido el éxito del Made in Italy.
En la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México estamos honrados de poder promover la oferta académica italiana entre los estudiantes mexicanos. Durante la primera edición, en las 2 semanas del evento, tuvimos más de 2.000 alumnos participantes y logramos un alcance en redes sociales de más de 1 millón de personas. Este proyecto nos brinda la oportunidad de acercar México a Italia, 2 naciones amigas y que tienen muchísimo que ofrecer en materia de creatividad y diseño. Disfruten de todas las actividades que hemos planeado en coordinación con las mejores universidades de diseño que hay en Italia y junto con las marcas que nos apoyan en esta iniciativa.
Bienvenidos a esta segunda edición de Encuentro Creativo, que te permitirá conocer más acerca de la oferta académica que la capital de la moda y el diseño ofrece, Italia. Por favor, síguenos a lo largo de las conferencias de Encuentro Creativo. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenido.
Bueno, muy bien, una iniciativa, gracias a todos estos actores participantes y al gran equipo que está detrás. Y pues sin más preámbulo, hoy quiero presentar en primer lugar a la universidad. Esto es IULM, que esto quiere decir la Universidad Libre de la Lección en Milán. La Universidad IULM es el centro de excelencia en Italia para la formación en comunicación, medios de comunicación, idiomas, turismo, artes y diseño. En los últimos 50 años, IULM ha construido su misión educativa basada en la experiencia, el conocimiento y la conciencia, integrando la competencia profesional, las habilidades blandas y el conocimiento cultural. Yo le voy a rogar a todos los participantes que mientras está la sesión, pues mantengan apagados sus micrófonos. Y asimismo, hoy estamos de plácemes porque les quiero presentar ni nada menos ni nada más que a Serena Rovai. Ella fue fundadora y directora de los programas de lujo y moda, anteriormente en Grenoble École de Management y profesora invitada en IULM. Su carrera internacional incluye ser profesora invitada en Estados Unidos y en Italia, en la internacionalización y la sostenibilidad de lujo. Y algo que ella ha hecho particular interés es que mencionemos que en este caso ella está precisamente en el área de Digital Communication for Sustainable Luxury and Innovation. Esto quiere decir el área de la comunicación que incide por sostenible y en la innovación. Entonces, agradezcamos y aplaudamos la presencia de Serena Rovai y, por supuesto, te cedo la palabra. Serena, mil gracias.
Thank you very much. Hola, mil gracias. And I'm sorry that my language skills, are not so good to allow me to say you much more. Thank you for your presentation, Gustavo. I'm Serena Rovai, and I'm very pleased to be here with you. I'm associate professor at Excelia Business Schools and the chair of the Luxury Lab Research Center. And I'm also one of the visiting professor at IULM University. Well, of course, Italy is considered the birthplace of luxury and fashion. And of course, it also hosts very high-level programs in the same field and research centers. Tonight, we are here to share with you some of reflections, we can say, on how and where luxury and fashion are going, and on what are also the new trends in the fields. Well, why this is important to share? Because, well, for you, future new talents that, maybe you'd like to have a career in this area or are about to build up in your career, you may have to know that digitalization has totally disrupted this industry sector, and that, of course, as a result, new talents are required to help effectively perform, in this sector and with the most uprising brands, luxury and fashion brands. So this is why we are going to dedicate the next about, let's say, 45 minutes to digitalization. Well, digitalization in luxury, for luxury and fashion, is a very vast topic. We will focus on some of the main areas because, of course, these may help you also to reflect for your future career development and make you understand also the rising needs from the industry for talents with digital skills. And unfortunately for the brands, but luckily for the new millennials, the lack still of resources, of human resources in this field. So let's start, reflecting about what is luxury nowadays, how is it changing, and how digitalization in particular during the pandemic period has totally disrupted this industry sector. We can go to the further slide. So we see together what are going to be the main topic of my short workshop with you. Of course, we only have 45 minutes, so we will just spend, different timings, on the most interesting ones and the top-of-notch ones. There will be some of them that we are not going to treat as the metaverse, because, of course, the metaverse in luxury and fashion would be a topic by itself. Let's say that tonight we will try to see together how luxury has evolved, what is the new luxury, and how digitalization has disrupted it. We will try to analyze it from different aspects. So first of all, from the retailing aspects and also from the communication aspects in luxury and fashion. And then we will give a specific eye to the new luxury digitalized consuming market. How is it changed? How was it? What are also the main actors, the main customers, the main consumers, how do we want to call, that have impacted and that have promoted this change towards an omni-channel approach in retailing and communication in luxury. And then we will see more from within what the experts, they call the physical evolution. Well, of course, as I know you are from different backgrounds, so with different levels of understandings, we have tried to make these presentations, available to all of you, to those that have a little bit of more expertise in the fields, but also those that they don't have. So to make them having the opportunity to have a comprehensive overview of what are the fundamentals, elements in the change and in the attractiveness for the job market of luxury and fashion industry, and in particular, of course, with respect to the new communication, I would call it, which is the digital communication. So we can start, from what you may have seen is the main classical approach to luxury nowadays, and to how luxury was and is still partially, for traditional or authentic luxury that we want to call considered nowadays. So we can start by saying that nowadays we are coexisting. There are two different luxury fields that are coexisting in the industry, which is the authentic luxury and the so-called new luxury. The authentic luxury basically integrates, or we can say represents what are the historical brands, what are those upscale brands, like, the historical made in Italy ones, as we have from Gucci to Ferragamo, from Cucinelli to Prada, and that they always were considered, mostly, as it is and as it was also the concept of luxury, for their exclusivity, for their rarity, for the high quality in handcrafting and the entire process from conception to follow-up and to the retailing moment in luxury, but an approach and a level of luxury brands that, thanks to the changes into the luxury market coming from fast-growing economies, and first of all China, has been disrupted from what, in jargon we call the democratization of luxury, derived from the digitalization ones. And that has given birth to what we call the new luxury. What is the new luxury and how was it born? born. The new luxury refers, in fact, to different levels of luxury in its categorization. So to a phenomenon that has brought luxury from this high level to a more deeper down level, to levels of what it is called elite luxury, to what it is called middle level luxury, and to what we call affordable luxury. So to a luxury that is not only and simply associated in its conceptualization to authenticity, exclusivity, and high quality, but a luxury that is becoming something different, that can become a state of mind, that it is a mood, that it is no longer only associated to high quality and pricing, but that it is more a model and a concept, or how experts, we call it a lifestyle. And a lifestyle that is no longer only associated on a sector of the industry, which is called personal goods, from fashion and apparel to leather and accessories, but that it is at 360 degrees and it's transversal to different luxury sectors. So that is transversal from and coming from the leather industry for luxury to hospitality, to even wellness, spa, or even households and appliances. A luxury that has a concept has become a lifestyle, an art de vivre, we could say, and that it is a multi-sectorial from an industry perspective. So no longer focused, as I was saying, simply on the personal goods one. Well, of course, this change in the conceptualization of luxury, in its definition, in both luxury as a concept and in luxury as an industry, has also given rise in association or as a consequence of a different consuming market that was driving this change, as we have said, in particular from the fast growing economies as China, has also grown another transformation, that it is the one that we are going to see more in depth. The retailing and communication transformation as function inside luxury, from a classical traditional approach to the new one, the most innovative one, driven from digitalization that has disrupted the traditional way in which luxury markets, were considered from a retailing point of view, that has changed, the way in which brands are selling their products, not only from what we call offline sites, flagship stores, but from the online one. And basically this why has happened because, well, as I was saying, we have had to put things in a very simplistic way, but of course, research are showing that it is not so simple. Well, these have been driven from this new change in the consuming markets, in the demographics change in these segmentations of the clients. So in a new clients approaching luxury and new clients that are defined as the new future clients, and in this we refer to the millennial clients or Generation Z, but not only, that have grown with the internet and the Internet of Things, and that they were expecting also from luxury and fashion industry to have a similar retailing approach. Well, this we will see in a while is also as due to the pandemic, or into brackets, thanks to this pandemic that has accelerated some transformation. Well, we will see that the pandemic has even, accelerated further the digitalization applied to retailing in luxury, and has also not only accelerated, but I would say more as changed, not the what, but the how retailing is considered and is done in luxury and in its different sectors. And as a consequence, also how communication has to be done, how communication has totally been transformed in luxury brands. And if we go, please, to the further slides, to a communication, a new communication that was absolutely not any longer considered mainly offline, but a communication that even in the offline and applied also to the retailing field was becoming in practice an appendix also of the online. So we have seen, as research from different managerial consulting companies has shown us, and research that, of course, the pandemic has modified and accelerated this phenomenon, a phenomenon that was already ongoing, but that the pandemic has totally changed in its modus operandi, and a change that has brought consumers online to even in a percentage of at least 40% being influenced by their online experience. So what we have seen until now, well, we have said that the traditional conceptualization of luxury as only authentic, exclusive, high pricing, offline, etc., is no longer existing. That luxury, for the different reasons that we have mentioned, has become multi-sectorial and multi-level. That this change towards this new concept of luxury has been caused, into brackets, by the entrance into the luxury fields of the fast-growing consuming markets, and consuming market that has not only modified the conceptualization of luxury, but has modified also on how luxury and fashion are functioning, how they are functioning in the consuming market, and how they are approaching, attracting, communicating with their clients. This has brought a total change, and we will see in a while, in the relationship with the clients, and of course, consequently, also in the mode in which luxury brands are communicating, and we can start using these words, engaging their clients. This, of course, is an ongoing process that, as I repeat, has been modified and accelerated, modified not in the what, not in the substance, but only in the mode and in the speed by the pandemic. Well, we will see in a while more specifically why, but we know already why, because of course, you know, during the pandemic, we have seen luxury brands that they had to shut down, you know, their mainly flagship stores and retailing offline strategy. And consequently, they were obliged, you know, to go online and to totally reconsidered their communication and associated retailing strategy online. Next slide. So we can see, and we can say that as data are telling us, you know, the impact of digital, of the digital orientation of what we will see in a while, we call the digital revolution, you know, as the just started. And it's very interesting for us because it is ongoing. It has impacted, and it is impacted all the luxury brands in all sector and as all the levels. Even if we see that, of course, in some luxury sectors, this is happening in a smaller proportion, also depending on the category of luxury. Okay, so for example, jewelry for online purchases, this as a percentage is lower than in other sector. But why this is considered a phenomenon and is, you know, is shaking all the industry is because, you know, of course, as already McKinsey was telling us a few years ago, 80% of all luxury sales are influenced in some way by what consumers see online. They are influenced by what the digital communication is sharing with the potential customers, how potential customers are engaged, how they react, etc., etc., etc. So we see already how, if, you know, even if this it was quite hard for luxury brands, quite hard because, well, we know, as we have said initially, isn't it, that luxury as a concept means exclusivity. So where is the exclusivity and rarity of luxury brands if we consider that luxury brands are all in the most democratic, into brackets, you know, place of communication, internet. Has that disappeared? Are these brands no longer luxury ones? Are they going to totally jeopardize their identity? Well, this is where the question that initially luxury brands were asking themselves. Until a few years ago, if, you know, 7-8 years ago, in the industry, we were thinking about how disruptive would have been digitalization of luxury. Well, not all experts would have agreed. Why? Well, because luxury brands, they were really reticent Two, they were reticent to go online because they were scared to lose this identity, this area of exclusivity, this area of rarity. Well, in good or in bad, times are changing, consuming markets are changing, segments of clients are changing, and in the end, luxury brands, had to start transforming themselves and answering yes to going digital, to go what it is called online in communication, or to go digital, to the digital com. There are different terms, and this is one of the main challenges nowadays for luxury brands, that, as I repeat, the pandemic has accelerated this transformation, and not all luxury brands were ready for it. So consequently, and there are, some delays in the structure in going towards a digital communication. And of course, this means also needs of resources specialized in the sectors and lack of resources, because let's say that the demands, and the transformation from the consuming market was going faster than expected, and not all the luxury brands had understood this, first of all, but also not all of them have the financial opportunities to change, to radically change their communication strategies and campaigns, or they also didn't have the know-how and the talents to ensure this to their company. Going on with the slides. So of course, we say that we can clearly say that digitalization, you're asking, but then what does it mean, digitalization for luxury, in a few words? Well, digitalization clearly has totally disrupted the way on how luxury brands communicate on not only on their products, but also on the brands, and on the way of how they can attract, and they have to engage their customers and fidelize them, because the customers itself, has totally changed also its role with respect to the relationship with the brand, and it has acquired a more meaningful role that can also do the good or the bad of a brand. This is what also we call UGC, user generating content. Think about the importance of the users generated content, the luxury users, the generated contents, the importance of those contexts. They can also do the good or the bad of a product, or of the identity of a brand. And this is why, we can say that the customers, through this process, they have acquired a totally different role, and a key and meaningful one. We can go to the further ones. So of course, this means new challenges for luxury brands, but it means also new opportunities, because of course, through what we call the digital storytelling, through these new digital engagement that the customers have, they can create a different relationship with the customers, a new challenging one certainly, but in this way they can also acquire, and they have acquired, those that have started before, new segments of consumers, in particular Generation Z, as I have anticipated, and the millennials that are highly valuing the interactions that they can have with brands on mobile via any other channels. So not only as it was, you know, in fact, it's something that is happening very fast, you know, not only as what it was happening until a few years ago, just, you know, communication via a web online, but a true interaction at a 360 degree where the customers, and in particular the new segments of customers, are totally engaged through the different social media, through the different platforms that an online communication means. Next slide. So, of course, this is why what digitalization has implied for luxury nowadays is called a totally digital revolution, because of course it has totally transformed and changed the way in which brands, you know, figure out their strategy to reach out the consumers, and first of all, but also last and not less important, how consumers interact with the brands, which means they use to interact with the brands. So this is why, you know, from, you remember I was saying, from that quite, you know, skeptical approach that luxury brands had towards their presence, you know, online, in communicating online. Well, from that skeptical approach, they have changed and gone more towards, you know, an accessory approach, you know, because of course, if they're not there, if they don't know how to do it, if they don't develop the right and the appropriate 360 degree multi-channel and omni-channel online communication, well, they cannot engage with the customers effectively, and this means losing customers and losing parts of the markets. Following slide. Of course, you know, then these, from what I was saying at the beginning, could look like, you know, a paradox, because you could tell me that, well, then there is no longer, you know, this aura of exclusivity and rarity. How can, of course, you know, these brands keep their heritage, keep their aura of quality, of rarity, and then going online towards this digitalization / democratization of accessibility, not only to luxury retail, but to luxury information, to luxury lifestyle, to luxury brands, you know, codes and identity. Well, this is not, you know, we could say that doesn't imply, you know, a loss in this exclusivity, doesn't imply the fact that they are online and then accessible, that they are no longer exclusive, because of course they are on the most democratic means, you know, and channels that they are nowadays, the internet channel. Well, it doesn't absolutely means that. It means that they will have to maintain this exclusivity, this rarity, their status, their identity, and their positioning through a different strategy, through a highly diversified strategy that takes into account the different expectation from the different segments of customers. So how different customers, they may interact online with respect to some others, you know, and consequently adapt their communication strategy to a digital communication specific or for millennials, or specific, you know, for a certain geographical areas. They will have to analyze their different shopping behaviors, you know. There are some categories, some segments, sorry, of customers that they shop online. They do not only look for information online, but they also shop online, while there are some others that they only look for information, but then they want to touch and see directly, you know, in a shop. Well, they will have to adapt, you know, to what the market, in fact, and the multiplicity or the different facets of the consuming markets is bringing and is in a certain way translating online. Of course, as we have said again, the pandemic has totally accelerated it. Next one. And we see, you can tell me, of course, you know, but how we see how important it is. And if it is important, well, there have been different studies on the markets that and data, specific data that are showing, you know, how the consumers are switching to digital, even how during the pandemic they've switched to digital simply to have further information. And then after the lockdown period, they have maybe abandoned the online informative approach to go back to offline. Well, there have been different studies in the sector on the different geographical markets, on the different segments of consumers, and they do have seen that the segments, the digitalization and whatever segments of consuming markets is still of relevance, is still going to increase at different levels, of course, and even in a no longer pandemic scenario is still to represent and to be part of how we interact with brands. So basically, it's an unstoppable phenomenon that whose only the speed can be put into discussion, but the phenomenon is unstoppable, has changed the market, is changing how luxury brands are communicating, and of course, you know, the know-how that they require. Following slide. So to conclude, you know, our focus on digitalization and its impact on the luxury consuming markets. Well, we see that for luxury brands, this process had been initially highly slow to those perceived threats that we have already mentioned, but we have seen that the markets phenomenon, the different markets phenomenon have changed the approach that luxury brands should have in their communication and retailing approach to the market, and that, of course, from a threat that the digitalization meant, nowadays we are in a context where luxury brands, have totally gone online, of course, for their communication and retailing, of course, at different speeds, and also in different successful or unsuccessful way, depending on their know-how and competencies. And of course, they've done this because they've become aware that consumers nowadays, or more the new luxury consumers have time constraints, are highly diversified. They have very individualistic, in their approach to communication and to the relation with the brand, and that the valued always to be as important to be connected with the brands. And connections, of course, means digital connection through online connection through digital communication. Following slide. So nowadays, we can say that luxury and digitalization, what it is, what digitalization is meaning in our contemporary world for luxury and fashion. Well, it means that nowadays communications and consequently also retailing have been transformed into what we even do not call anymore only omni-channel approach, but more phygital approach, which is an integrative, it's an integrated communication system where the online is also integrating the offline, where the online is also present into the stores, into the flagship stores, and vice versa. And we can see some examples about this in the next slides. If you can go to the next slide, please. So an example is what Gucci has recently done through its partnership with Snapchat, where, of course, sometimes the online with respect to communication and retailing had been reproached not to have the touch feeling or a different one. Well, thanks to the augmented reality and to artificial intelligence application, well, Snapchat, has crafted a specific program called, Crafted for Luxury, where they have shown how their platform is able, to help not only fashion, but also luxury brands, not only in conveying their messages and storytellings, but the feeling and the personalization, the real personalization of products or of the brand on the consumers. So we see here the examples that they have created, for Gucci shoes, for Gucci leather and accessories, and in particular, shoes, where through a specific app, an augmented reality app, the customers, can see through Snapchat how a pair of shoes could look like on himself or herself. Next slide, please. Of course, this is not only the phygital evolution of digitalization applied to luxury is not the only one. We also have what we call data-driven personalization. What it is, basically, this is something that LVMH, for example, has taken highly into account in this quest, in this objective to provide a very and highly specific, realistic engagement with the customers. Well, they've not only used augmented reality, to give a realistic sensation and feeling on the customer, but they are using also digitalization and data-driven, and the data-driven by digitalization to know more their customers and personalized much more in details what it is, the engagement and the relationship online between the brand and the customers. Following slide. Of course, one of those that they had the financial opportunity to create and operatively act on that was the holding LVMH, that with Google created a partnership that is helping LVMH to understand the consumer better, to understand, as I was saying, the consumer expectations, the consumer habits, and how to engage and to fidelize it and satisfy it faster. Following slides. Well, last but not least, because as I was saying, we could stay here much longer. We have just, given some touch points of what it is, the importance of digitalization in luxury, and without touching an aparte subject that is the word of the metaverse. Well, the last, the last touch point on which to reflect with respect to luxury and digitalization is the global approach that luxury brands needs to have with respect to their digital strategy. While, well, because we have already focused that the needs, we know very well that the needs to know your customer better, is always essential. It is, of course, also highly essential in a digitalized world, in a world in which we are talking about metaverse, augmented reality, diversified platforms where luxury brands and the relationship with the customers is done. Why? Well, because they may be highly different. And one for all I've put here is the Chinese context. They may be highly different, not only by customers' level of segments, but they may be different also by customers' geographical areas. Not all the geographical areas rely on the same system. Each system has a different also phygital implication, may have or not have, may have a different data-driven level of personalization, and of course, simply is conceptualized, the system is conceptualized differently. So this is why I was taking here, for example, the WeChat platforms that initially by luxury brands had been neglected, and unfortunately it was, you know, they had then to gain again the time that they had lost. Why? Because they had to realize that WeChat was the main platforms used by the new Chinese luxury consumers. Its functioning was totally different, and a loss of understanding of WeChat, its opportunities and its relationship with the clients would have meant, of course, loss of parts, of important parts of the market. Next slide. Well, what's next? As I was saying, this, you know, of course, tried to be in 45 minutes, you know, a comprehensive overview of the main touch points related to the importance of digitalization for luxury, of how luxury has been totally disrupted in its communication and in the retailing approach by this digitalization wave that has completely modified on how consumer acts, what they expect from luxury brands, and how luxury brands they have to deal in their communication strategy. Of course, you know, what's next is difficult to predict, is difficult to foresee, but what is certain is that this digitalization wave that in the past was considered a threat for luxury brands, nowadays it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to jump on, and if not because of lack of know-how or financial resources, it may mean, you know, loss of the consuming markets and where, you know, the consumer markets is going. Questions? Thank you very much for your attention.
I like to make a point of view about the acerca de la digitalización.
Okay, no problem.
Sobre, bueno, que I made the term in a single point that the digitalization will always be important to promote the clothing brands?
If it is only for the clothing brands.
The digitalization. How do you
Yeah, I understand. No, it's not only for clothing brands. Absolutely not. It's for the entire, of course, mass consuming industry, but also luxury industry. Nowadays, luxury industry is not only fashion and apparel, you know, or leather and accessories. It's also hospitality.
Okay.
It's also tourism.
For example, apps like WeChat and that, or it will be like a way to promote maybe la digital, para promover to promote the industry, because we know that, we know applications, we know this, if you are not keeping in touch online, you never will be entire about the stuff that is happening in the industry and industry world.
Yeah, absolutely. But is it a question, Sabina, or is your a comment?
It's a comment, and I like.
Yeah, absolutely yes, Sabina. Absolutely yes. But what it is, you know, surprising. Yes, what is surprising is that, you know, initially the digital approach for luxury brands and communication and fashion brands, of course, at high level, okay, was seen as a threat. But for you, for the new generations, but also for the middle-aged one, as you're rightly saying, well, now if you don't go online to get information, well, it's even something compulsory, let's say, that it's a must that
like
you do. You go
online.
online.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
A ver, si son tan amables, a ver, para no monopolizar la conversación, Sabina, si pueden levantar la mano y entonces yo les doy la palabra para poder acceder a las preguntas. Les agradezco mucho. Is that possible, Serena? Maybe we can have another participation and going to the end. As a matter of fact, I have one written. Betito Jarillo asked, which is the difference between being present via storytelling and spamming the consumer with ads?
What is, sorry? The difference between?
Between being present via storytelling and spamming the consumer with ads.
Oh, I cannot hear. Is it, could you write it maybe to me?
Yes, certainly. Now it's written in the general chat.
Okay, I see. Gustavo wrote me. Okay, which is the difference between being present via storytelling and spamming the consumer with ads? Well, I would just say, first of all, with storytelling is the emotional one that they create. It's an emotional engagement that brands have the consumers. And while with the ads is not, and the engagement, and I underline the engagement because with the ads, usually the clients and consumers doesn't have any specific engagement, and the modes that are used is different. You know, how it is built is different also structurally through the social media. And it's also associated, I was also talking about the user-generated content and the importance of the user-generating content. Well, this is something that is specific, you know, also of the storytelling and on the relationship that it is created, not only between the brand and the customer, but between also customers consumers amongst themselves, that they influence also how the brand and its products are perceived.
All right. We have another question
And
from
if you're
Araceli
interested
Alejandro.
in that, there are different, there are very interesting studies, also in that. There are research studies, very interesting research studies on that, If you want, I mean, you can find me online on LinkedIn and so forth. And so if you want, if you have some specific questions, please, write me and I can suggest you also some publications and articles.
All right. We have another question from Araceli Alejandro. Araceli, si quieres proceder o si también la quieres apuntar en el chat, cualquiera de las dos, tienes la palabra.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My doubts about that, how luxury brands could, because to me, I think that all these applications and try to buy something on internet is not the same due to all the cost that maybe, I don't know, it's not the same price comparing between Gucci and maybe these retail fast fashion. So how could luxury brands try to deal with these difference, try to sell on the stores and not only on the applications?
I've not understood well, Araceli, your question. I mean, they are selling on the stores. You mean on the online or offline store, or the real one, the flagship store?
No, how luxury brands could deal selling on apps, because I think that is not the same due to the cost of the clothes.
Is not the same with what?
I think that is my microphone, so if you wanted, I could write it.
Yeah, thank you.
Sí. Traté de escribirlo yo. A ver, intenta acabar. How luxury brands can deal with apps, not particularly with digital communication.
Well, okay, it depends on which type of apps, Araceli, because they create, sometimes themselves, apps. If you take, for example, WeChat in China, they create what they call a mini program, and they manage directly with WeChat. It's the same if you take, on Instagram. So this is why I was telling you I don't understand, really your question. Also, if you mean through resellers, maybe that some of the products are sold at a different price, but this is more about pricing than digitalization, and it often refers, also to the partnerships that they may have, or to the fact that some specific products, they may be on a limited edition, or they have been created for that particular reseller. But I don't know if this was exactly the question.
I hope it will work. Otra pregunta de parte de Karina Torrejón. Karina Torrejón, puedes abrir tu micrófono y cámara, por favor.
Thank you. How does they know that they are getting to the target they want? Because it's not only having a better engagement, but actually having persons who actually buy their things. So how do they know they are getting to the correct target?
They have a strategy. Of course, you know, they develop a strategy. They have worldwide strategies, diversified, you know, by regional areas. And sometimes, you know, they don't get to the targets. For example, during the pandemic, they had to change their targets. You know, they even totally shut down in retailing. They shut down, you know, some of their offline flagship stores, and they had to totally reconvert their strategy to a more online focused one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I suppose that there is obviously it's a good idea because they
¿Quién
always.
está hablando?
Serena.
Es que es de pedir la palabra, yo te la doy, y entonces así tenemos cierto orden, Sabina.
Perdona,
y intentemos no monopolizar las preguntas, porque quedan solo 2 más, y tú ya hiciste suficientes. Gracias, okay. Sabina. Vamos a pasar con alguien más, te agradezco.
Sí, me parece bien, perdona.
Ok, entonces, toma la palabra, si me permites, toma la palabra Rebeca Jaspeado, por favor.
Gracias, Gustavo. ¿Me escuchan bien?
Sí, muy bien.
Perfecto, gracias. Well, hi, Serena. My question is about, we were talking about luxury brands, that now the luxury includes traveling, gastronomy, tourism, everything, right? And now in the digital era, we're talking about a different topic, which is the metaverse. That now everything is made of digitalization. So my question goes in how do you recommend as young designers to include this type of new selling stuff? Because we're not looking like, we're not touching anything, we're not smelling everything. It's a different kind of experience. So what are the tips that you can make in order to grow in this type of digitalization?
Well, it depends, I usually say, Rebecca, also on the type of customer segments, you know, is quite a difference because, as I was saying, through this digital data, brands are trying also to understand what are the expectations by different segments, by different geographical areas, by different level of segments, you know. I was interviewing, you know, some luxury brands on the subject, and some of those, you know, they were really very simplistically telling me that, well, they may buy, you know, just for some more emotional attitude that they want to have, you know. They're buying just for the pleasure of buying. And then also, if you want, they're also buying, it's in a certain way, the metaverse can be also a kind of rare objects. So it may be surprising, but from metaverse, they're also buying the upper level of customers that basically they buy through the metaverse because it's a unique object, you know, it's something highly rare. So what you have to consider when you approach digitalization is that initially there was this threat also of and willing to reproduce in some ways something that you cannot touch, you cannot smell. Nowadays, they have understood also that this is no longer the main point, because the main point for the customers is the experience and the relationship that they create on the object and with the brand through the storytelling. Is it what you wanted, Rebecca?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And now the last question is from Daniela Escalona.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Serena.
Hi, Daniela.
So my question is about how do you think it's the best way for luxury brands nowadays to make, well, to differentiate in the market in this digital era or in this metaverse era? How do you think they can differentiate themselves?
I could say, Daniela, that this is the answer can be an entire book. Okay, so I just try, you know, to make it as effective as possible, but also as simple as possible. Well, certainly by understanding their targeted market, their targeted customers, and what these imply. So developing an appropriate strategy by knowing better their customers and by creating a very tight and engaging relationship with them, because the competition is very tight, and there is not only competition, as I was saying, there is also, you know, we have not talked about the internationalization of luxury. Every market has, of course, some common aspects, but then with respect to the consumers, there are specificities. There are what, you know, we call from market, we know from marketing the pestle analysis. There are political, environmental, socio-cultural, technological, environmental, and legal differences. And these, of course, impacts also the system in which a brand operates. Okay, so this is also something else to which they have to be attentive. This is why I was telling you, this is, you know, this is, well, we would need a little bit longer to discuss it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks to you, Daniela.
Bueno, pues, thank you very much, Serena Rovai, for all the concepts and all the ideas that you have shared with us today. Y muchísimas gracias a todos los participantes que han estado en esta sesión. Entonces, les agradecemos muchísimo el estar aquí y, por supuesto, en unos momentos nos volveremos a ver para lo que va a estar hablando Mireille Laquart acerca de sustentabilidad. Thank you very much, Serena. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you. Gracias. Goodbye.
Gracias. Arrivederci. Hasta luego.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.